Welcome to the Essential Libertarians, giving you the tools for self-governance. I am your host, Kareem, and today we have two awesome people, my co-host, Max Henry, and Benjamin Sievers. He's an ANCAP, an educator. He also helped with, different things going on, events in Pennsylvania, and super excited to have Benjamin on today. Thank you for coming, man.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure.
So with that being said, guys, if you want to keep the ideals of Murray Rothbard alive, if you want to keep the Ron Paul revolution going, if you want to actually just end the tyranny of the state, go to the lpmisescaucus.com. We have a simple platform. No more wars, lockdowns, bailouts, or mandates. You're an individual. You can make the best decisions for yourself, and you can put your first name, last name, email, phone number, and state if you enjoy this information, be part of the revolution. And we have some resources here to help out. So the first story today is this. I'm pretty excited. If anybody who's anybody, I think now looking at any political stuff is like, okay, what the Canadians doing, especially the truckers, are good because it doesn't violate the NAP. It doesn't cause like any like crazy things with like violence. You're not like gonna, go up. And it actually, unlike even defeat the mandates, as far as I know, authoritarians have to eat too. They like food. And if there's no supply and there's no food, yeah, is it going to hurt? Is it going to cause problems? Yeah. But it'll make Biden, Trudeau, elbow macaroni in France, Emmanuel Macron, and all these people COVID. And the cool thing is people took a hint from the Canadian truckers, and U.S. truckers are planning their own freedom convoy from Cali to Washington, D.C.
All right, yeah.
To protest authoritarian COVID mandates. When I saw this, I was like, whoo, damn.
Awesome.
So, inspired by their Canadian brethren, American truckers have decided to form their nationwide convoy to D.C. in protest of Biden, my bad, his regime and his Rona policies. And there's a Facebook page you can visit, Convoy to DC 2022, and it already has over 100,031 followers. I'm guessing that is okay. Maybe Facebook banned that. It's possible. We have many large groups of our fathers. Everyone has a voice. We support our freedom. Help us spread the word about this group, and we can make it all a better place. God bless America. Amen. America. They don't like the scary beer flu. The group opposes the medical procedure that the establishment wants you to take that require truckers to show documentation in order to cross the border from America to Canada. And the American Trucking Association, ATA, the U.S. trucking industry's largest association, recently urged leaders in Ottawa and Washington to reconsider these mandates in order to avoid any further economic disruptions. Stay by one. We're done with the mandates. We're done with the government telling us what to do. We will continue. We will follow like the rest of the world on these trucker protests, and they'll be 100% legal, and they will abide by the law. In America, it's your turn. It's your turn to step up and show what you're made of. And actually, one thing that got me is, and I think a lot of people, might wonder about this, is I've always said Canada's doing this, and Canada typically doesn't have as much like assertiveness as America.
Right.
Whether you say that's good or bad, it can be good in a war setting where, okay, Canada's not going to invade Iraq. Good. But America's usually like gun-ho, let's get them, let's get the job done. And it's kind of surprising Canada's leading the world in these trucker protests, but it's good. I was wondering, when is the U.S. going to do it? When are we actually going to do something like this? And that's cool to do it. Here's my only problem with all of this. It's not necessarily all the mandates that are bad. I really took some time to think about this. If you say that mandates are a problem, you have to say that that's kind of a symptom, and it's a symptom of a larger problem, which is if you don't have the right to mandate something, then you cannot give that right to someone else. Just like if I don't have the right to tax someone, I cannot give that right to an elected representative to tax it. So we have to come to the realization that we have given these people, as Ron Paul said, the government shouldn't be able to do anything you're not allowed to do. So we can't keep giving these people our quote unquote representatives. If you believe they really represent you, you can't let them have rights that you yourself cannot delegate.
Right.
But yeah, I'd like to hear. I know Max is super excited now. It'd probably be
Yeah.
like now in Cali on a truck, like, yeah.
Well, like, okay, so I have a friend who's a trucker, and he, I went with him on a truck one time. We went to Maine, from Jersey to Maine and back.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually like law. Okay, the FEC has laws on what they could talk about on the radio waves, and they can't talk about, truckers are not allowed to talk about politics. So it's really interesting because our laws differ from Canadians. I'm pretty sure Canada has those laws. They were just like, fuck it, it don't matter, we're doing it anyway, which that's the only way you're gonna get it done. So that's my first thought. My second thought is, it reminds me of like Marx a little bit, right? Like, workers of the world unite, and I'm just like, is this good? Is this bad? I'm happy that they're doing it. I'm happy that, people are getting together and protesting for something that matters, right? Which is, these mandates got to end. I don't see how it would work towards Washington, D.C., since those mandates are pretty much done. I think what they should do is go into their state capitals like New York and California and all the states that are still doing lockdown. I think that's where it's got to be. Yeah, that's my take on it. It's pretty cool anyway. I mean, but at the same time, food shortages is going to be a thing. The cost of food will go up. And that's not good for the consumer, right? So when you think about it in the economic sense, it's like, do you really want the trucks to be out there? Well, if they were in their own state, they would get it done pretty quick. But if they're going for a whole nation fucking tour, who knows?
I mean, hey, you know what? I still support it because they might be able to make a kind of like impact, and they might be able to say, hey, look, not only are we telling, Biden, and they can do it for other stuff too. They could be like, we're fed up with inflation. We're fed up with this. We're fed up with that. At least get some people to say, hey, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with what's going on. It's funny to see socialists being against workers uniting. Isn't that what they want? So I don't get how anything works anymore. Just like everything's upside down and all around. Like, I'm not saying their economic policy makes any sense, but usually they're like, okay, well, if I understand what they mean by seize the means of production, it's like, okay, well, workers, your every average day laborer should own the company. So workers should unite, but now they're against workers unite. So it doesn't make sense. I don't know. What do you make of all this, Ben? I'd love to get your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. My main thing is, like, if modern America were anything like the American history books, we would have had this like a year ago, maybe even like longer, like closer to like the initial pandemic, like when it began. But the thing is, we didn't, and that shows a significant how significantly the corporate media has basically made it seem like protesting and boycotting stuff like that is shunned. It's not good. But in reality, it's effective. But I mean, they've grounded into our minds that we shouldn't be doing these things, that we shouldn't be resisting. You see this in my area, like when all this stuff began. There's some people that say, "Oh, when government shuts everything down, or government does this or that, I'm going to be the first one out in the streets and all that." Then when it happened, nothing. So it's nice to see this this movement come to the United States. Hopefully, like, we can actually start showing our representatives that, like, we actually care, because it doesn't seem like we care that much.
Right.
And you made an excellent point about like socialists clamping down on workers, because I mean, whenever the working man really says anything, it's always the leftists or the Marxists saying something like, "Oh, you dumb working class person," or you dumb hick, just stay in your line. You shouldn't be saying that's crazy, ludicrous, politically incorrect stuff. And the people who call themselves leftist Marxist, they're far from working class, as we all probably know. A lot of them aren't even like, some of them are. I know some working class, like, left-wing people, but I mean, a lot of the ones you see talking on CNN, or the ones you see out in the media or writing things, they're just ivory tower
Campaign
intellectuals,
socialists.
yeah, or college students, and you know they don't know what they're talking about. They think they know what the consequences of their rules and regulations. But I mean, just for example, these the supply chain shortages that have been putting truckers out of work. Like people don't have anything to ship, or or like salesmen, like out on the road salesmen who like
Well, no, the truck. The truckers are definitely not out of work. I mean, if you were able 100 hours a week, they'd work you 100 hours a week.
Mhm.
It's just that they don't have the. They're actually short about 80,000 truckers in America.
Mhm.
That part is where we're short, but the supplies is where we're short, not and the labor.
I don't know. Well, the confusing thing to me is I don't know if they're out of work, but here's what I hear. If any, well, here's the problem.
They're not. Like,
Well, let me.
they're
The
not.
point I would say is this: Kerry Mullis
Yeah.
said, the guy who invented the whole test, the polymer chain reaction, stands for PCR. If you propagate that enough, it can pick up anything. It could probably say my phone is positive, or this piece of lettuce is positive for something. That's what he said. Now, from my understanding, they're using that test. They test the trucker. Oh, you're positive. Go back. Like that's to me what's causing the problem.
Here's the thing, and now that the CDC updated their data,
Oh God.
it's only 5 days, and you don't have to provide if the company is following CDC guidelines, which is usually what they're doing.
People
Right.
still read the CDC
After
website.
days, you come back to work. It doesn't matter if you test positive because you're. So now that's how they're going with it ever since Omicron. So yeah, they're definitely not out of work, but I mean, again, I'm happy they're doing something about it. But once they get to DC, you're talking to the federal government rather than California, right? Newsom. That's where you need some of these policies. I don't know what's going on in Pennsylvania by you guys. I left Jersey. I'm so happy. And over here in Florida, nothing's going on, dude. We're not doing the only thing we're complaining about is monoclonal antibodies being being stopped from Joe Biden because Florida was just buying all of them. And all these old people, they go get that stuff. They get the monoclonal, they feel a little sick, they got COVID, right? They go and they get that stuff.
Yeah.
And they took all that stuff away. But it has to do with the states at this point. It has nothing really to do with the federal government besides the military or hospitals. Like those are the workers that are still under the mandate here. So we're 90% there in terms of ending these mandates and lockdowns. It's just the states that are really holding us up.
Yeah, well, the problem is, the states, and then a lot of businesses want a virtue signal and things like that. The one point I would make though is because me and Jack Lloyd even disagreed with this, and I get it. You and Dave Rubin, that's great that like you got down to Florida along with a lot of people going to, a lot of people went down to Texas, like Elon Musk. I think we are here. Elijah and Sydney went down to Texas. Blair Wright went down to Texas. Just from watching the videos. So a lot of people got to Texas, and I think Tennessee was the other big one. My big question is, I guess the two things that are one, these landscapes, which are still part of America, might turn into complete dystopian places like California. And two, these people are eventually going to, like Dave Rubin, if you watched his Rubin report things, which I do sometimes, he's a little polished for me. I like dudes who are a little bit like raw, like, yeah, let's get this, like the Alex Jones type. But he said, I'm going to stay in LA and fight. I'm like, good for you. And then he said, then it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And he's like, I'm going to run to Florida. My only problem, and he kind of gets it. He's like, he said he's a classical liberal, which is cool. A little bit too heavy on Trump for me, so I don't agree with that. But the thing that's getting me is a lot of these people are not going to pick up an economics book, and they're going to be like, oh, I destroyed my state. I voted for higher taxes and to deregulate violent crime and all that stuff. And that didn't work. And they'll come down to your state and vote that way. So I just want to save Pennsylvania. That's my stance.
Most of the people moving to the states are Republican, right? And
I don't know if they are. I haven't looked.
they are. And so the issue is that if you have a Republican that offers a tax hike, then they're just going to be okay with it because a Republican did it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it really has to do with holding them accountable to their philosophy and in their conventions themselves. How are they voting in their conventions? How are their delegates voting in their conventions? And is the populist movement going to move away from Keynesian economics into Austria or even Chicago? If we could just get to Chicago, School of Economics, we'd be good. We'd be all right, you know. But if we could, I don't know if we'll get there because there's a lot of controlled opposition. So I don't know if we'll ever get there or if they will ever get there. You know, even in the LP, we have issues on how we view economics. And sometimes it seems worse for us than it does the Republicans. Yeah.
I think, you know what? I found that there's better Austrians overall in like the thought, like we have Tom Woods, we have some like hard hit Peter Leeson, who's my go-to economist. So the issue I think we have is there's people in the LP who don't want to have strong messaging and are afraid to say, oh, I can't step out of the Republican Democrat paradigm. I still have to play it like Jeb Bush and be nice and proper. I'm like, dude, no, we got to end inflation. We got to end wars. And we got to,
the emergency button, bro. Like,
yeah. And there are people in the LP who like, there's this Tajos guy, like sometimes he says good things, but he's like, oh, Joe Rogan's an amateur. I'm like, dude, I'm not saying Joe Rogan's the best interview in the world, but you know what? He's interviewing very high level guests who have good opinions. Because of him, I found Dr. Huberman. He interviewed Peter, McCulloch, who's like really, really good. And he also interviewed Malone. So I want to talk about this because I didn't want to talk about Rogan so much because Tim Pool's talking about Rogan. Everybody is talking about Rogan. And for a while, I'm like, okay, Rogan's cool. But one thing I found on the Free Thought Project that was pretty good is Woke America keeps begging for Joe Rogan censorship as the commander-in-chief is trying to start a war. I don't know if that Biden will start a war, but Joe Rogan has been long target of woke hatred since the beginning of this thing, and his curiosity and willingness to explore topics considered taboo by the establishment have put him in larger crosshairs. Even the Surgeon General, and I just saw this lately, on the Joe Rogan bandwagon as former music stars went from singing about freedom to begging Rogan be stripped of his. Neil Young wrote a song called Rockin' in the Free World, literally Rockin' in the Free World. And the Surgeon General, the White House, they got like 1,000 doctors who weren't doctors. They were like dentists.
And fucking veterinarians and shit.
Yeah, like, dude, come on. Like, hey, I'm a doctor.
Like, you call me up and say, hey, bro, just sign this. Okay. Like the Great Barrington Declaration has 920,000 signatures, bro. And 45,000 of those are medical experts and 10,000 of them are doctors. So it's like, yeah, man, we got signatures too. So
yeah. No, just funny to me. Like,
okay. and not to mention that Blackstone owns Hypnosis Song Management, which owns Neil Young's music catalog. So Neil Young sold his catalog to Hypnosis Song Management, which is owned by Blackstone, which just so happens to own a heavy portion of Pfizer. So having said all that, it's obvious that Neil Young is just using his voice to help his profits when it comes to Blackstone and his music. So that's what it is. And all these people are. You see the type of people leaving freaking Joe. Oh, I'm leaving Spotify. Like, who are you, dude? I've never heard of you.
I've never
parents barely know, dude. Who are you? So
And I agree with you. I've never heard of these people. And yeah, that's the problem with corporatism in and of itself. You get highly centralized boards of directors who are in revolving things and control almost every subset of aspect of life. Like, oh, the same person on big tech is the same person on pharma, is the same person on the news, is the same person here. So they say, okay, Neil Young, you're part of this thing. Issue this statement. Let's get. And to me, it's completely failing. But here's the thing that bugs me. Rogan comes from folks who have, a lot of people say, like, okay, say what you will about Rogan. You like him, don't like him. I personally listen to him a lot. But the corporate media, what did they lie about? Let's talk about what they lied about. Because I want to. They lied about WMDs in Iraq.
Should we say that?
Sorry.
How about CNN having pedophiles?
Yeah, that. But even worse,
sexual predators. Every single, like, they got like 3 of them now, dude. What's going on?
Yeah, and Cuomo.
What do you think's going on? Ben said he's got to leave at 12. So what's going on, Ben?
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, a professor here mentioned this the other day. It's funny because there's a big, I think it's a CNN article, or they posted that after Neil Young's records were pulled from Spotify's stock dropped by 25%. But
that was false. No one ever fact checked it.
Yeah. But here's the thing: Spotify's stock has been falling for like the past few weeks by 25% on average each day.
Wow.
So, which is just
what's
just
ridiculous. Find their index, Kareem. Find the index. Pull it up, bro. Pull it up, Jay.
The Spotify index.
Yeah, pull Spotify stock. Yeah, but yeah, that's what at least what this professor had claimed. I did not look at Spotify's stock, but it's just like if that's true, I mean, it's like what they're just perfectly crafting narrative to attack the alternative media, such as Joe Rogan. They're competitors, really.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And you mentioned Blackstone. One of the is that true? It has dropped by 25%.
Go. That's one day. So go 1 month.
Okay.
On the top. No. Go back. Yeah, right there. See, it's 1 day, 5 day, 1 month. Right there. Yeah.
1 month.
Okay.
They taking some hits, boy. This looks like Dogecoin or Shiba Inu. Man, taking some hits.
Okay, but wait, look at that 6-month average. Okay, so they had to spike like everyone on the market, and everyone on the market is losing right now. Yeah. I mean, they definitely have negative press, and I'm sure they're losing something. Maybe Pandora's real happy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the board of Spotify or whatever is not railing because Neil Young pulled his music from Spotify. Like,
God, right? Fuck
yeah,
Young, bro. It's like you losing, like losing Ja Rule or something like.
Who?
I don't know who that is. See, I don't know who that is.
You know what you really want to do. You know that? I'm too old. Anyway.
Yeah, but you mentioned Blackstone. I guess like the one of the people on the board of Blackstone used to be on the board of Pfizer or something like that, or has like a lot of stock in Pfizer, something along those lines. But it's just like it's just perfect. Like, I don't know how anyone can look at this, follow the money, see all this happening, and be like, "Yeah, seems about right to me." Yeah, Joe Rogan's wrong, or Joe Rogan should be taken down or censored.
That's the thing, right? Like, who's like everybody who's talking about how many episodes have you watched? I mean, I've been watching Joe Rogan since I've watched his first episode. Oh my god, very cringe. But I watched it just to see what it was. I think I really started watching him around like episode 400 or 500, and I've been watching.
Jamie, can you pull that up?
Bro, episode 1 is so cringe. It's so funny. He's on some old ass hardware. It's just staring at him, just like our cameras are staring at us, and his friends in the background, and they're just talking about, like, they're doing like funny little animations on the computer. Look what this does to the screen, bro. Like, that's all it is. It's they're high as fuck, and they're just talking about bullshit. But yeah, bro, Blackstone, this whole thing. You're right, Ben. You're right.
You mentioned inflation, Kareem. Talk about like media misinformation. Like over the past like few months, we've seen like 5 different articles or so. One being like, "Oh, Biden's spending plan won't cause inflation." Oh, next thing you know, it's like, but inflation's good. But then it's like we should manage our expectations.
Like,
Yeah,
dude, when they
like go buy a turkey.
like,
That's my problem.
what did Saki say? That fucking hot commie bitch, that redhead fucking bitch, bro.
He's hot, dude.
She's
I don't
pretty
know
hot.
about that, dude. I think I'd rather date AOC than that. But like,
I think redheads are hot. Anyway, so the thing is, what did she say? She was like, for Christmas, well, maybe you're not gonna go get that toy for Christmas for your child. Like,
did you say
like, bro,
35 trillion is
it's
zero?
America, bro. Like, we buy our children whatever the hell we want, you know.
Yeah. What 35 trillion is zero too? I don't know what she said. Like, I don't.
That isn't real. Remember that one? Bernie Sanders used to said that. Like, the national debt doesn't matter. It's not real.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what made her think saying something like that was a good idea? Like, oh, maybe you shouldn't buy your kids toys. Like, let's keep a lid on that.
Pull it up, Jamie. Pull it up. It was something like that. It was like,
oh my god.
It was something like, you know, you got to manage your expectations, and it was along those lines. I was just sort of, wow, bro, how condescending. Like, you're sitting up there. We all know you're buying your family whatever the fuck you want, right? Like, we know that. You know, you have a pretty decent job. You know, not really. I would probably never want to do her job, but the pay is good. That's the point. And she wasn't going without. And tons of these families, it's like we almost forget everybody, like what we were going through at work. I mean, I've been in the field of work since I stopped going to school. Since I went back to school a little bit, but I did it part-time because I was still working. So I started really working like full time after I finished, you know, before college. Then after college, I finished around like 21, 22 and started going to work full time. So I've never been that broke, dude. I mean, they had me home. I was just like, what am I doing with my life? It was depressing. It was like, you know, you're sitting with your loved ones, and you're like, wow, bro, that's what they think of the world. Like, you're starting to realize things about your family you didn't know. Yeah. And it was dude, everywhere you went, you had to wear a mask, and you saw people wearing masks in their cars alone, and you
or hiking alone. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What gets me though about Joe Rogan
like
is, like, I've been watching him.
Store, and even to like small store around the corner, they would tell you, yeah, we don't believe in it, but we have to do it. It's like, why? Who's watching? You know, like, relax. Just be free. So I would walk it in New Jersey, the freaking devil's graveyard, right? Like literally, it's the worst possible place besides California and New York and Manhattan. I would walk in there with no mask, and they'd put on a mask, they would get very angry very quick, almost to the point where you thought they were going to get violent, but I'm like 240 pounds, so they kind of think twice and shit. I don't know, dude. It was a bad fucking time.
If you put on another 240,
and then they tell you can't go buy your freaking children the presents you want to buy them. Like, tough luck, you're broke. Oh yeah, here's $600, where it's going to cost you $1,500, but here's $600.
Imagine if someone who's on the right said that. Yeah, imagine if someone who's on the right said something like that. It'd be like the end of the world.
They'd be like hounded by the mainstream, which is one thing I want to point out is that whatever you think of Rogan, you know, okay, the market works. As Amash said, like, you don't have to like Rogan, but the mainstream media has lied about Iraq, which killed 1 million Iraqis. They've lied about Syria, Libya. They've lied about the election. They lied about everything. I don't even like Russiagate but they lied about that. Like, they say, like, oh, we have to stop misinformation. Look in a goddamn mirror, I would say. It might be helpful. Just like these people who always want to point the finger and say, like, oh, everybody should get health care, and if you don't do this, you should. Like, come on. Maybe a mirror would be pretty good for these people. And maybe it'd be good for your former governor, Chris Christie, so he could go, man.
Look at that. The CEO, Jeff Tucker.
We are change. My boy Luke, who said wit instead of with. I'm just picking on him, but I was wrong. CNN CEO Jeff Zucker suddenly resigns over inappropriate workplace relationship. Oh, what's he doing? And this is after Cuomo.
No
This is
way.
after Lemon. This is after who doesn't work for CNN who's involved in some weird shit. So CEO head honcho Jeff Zucker announced his unexpected departure from the network after 9 years after investigators looking into the Chris Cuomo scandal uncovered a consensual relationship with a colleague. In Wednesday's statement, Zucker said that Cuomo investigation, I was asked about a consensual relationship with my closest colleague, someone who I've worked with for more than 20 years. I've acknowledged a relationship involved in recent years. I was required to disclose it when I began, but I didn't. I was wrong. As of today,
Wait. Go back for a second. I want to read that one part. He was required to disclose it.
I guess so, yeah, because I
You're
guess
a fucking CEO, bro. You're required for that.
I have no idea. I guess
all right. Anyway,
CNN, they're full of.
so he's smashing his secretary. That's really what's happening.
Yeah,
right? He's smashing his secretary or somebody that works for him, right? He's bending her over backwards in the office,
yes.
right?
Or maybe in the back. I don't know where he's bending it over.
And he's like, "Poop on me like Biden," and then he's required to tell people about this. All right, we're there now. All right,
okay. I hope that one didn't actually happen, but yeah, this is the dude. I don't know how he's getting chicks. Well, I guess money, right?
He's the CEO, bro. He's CNN, man.
Dude, he looks like Lex Luthor. Like got hit by an
Lex Luthor on estrogen.
I gotta get my injection. Maybe. So, basically, I don't want to spend tons and tons of time on this. I just want to say the corporate media is probably mad at Joe Rogan because they keep getting involved in scandals, problems. They keep sucking. He keeps taking all of their competition. Tim Pool did mention that CNN lost their hotel or their airport contract, which that to me is how they got views. Like, oh, I have to watch this CNN thing because my flight's going to be delayed for 5 hours. So whatever.
Like that. Yeah, because that's right. They are on at the airport.
Yeah, I can. That's kind of a cheating way. You're kind of cornering the free market and saying, oh, well, a ton of people have to use Comcast. Yeah, because it's the only thing in my area. It's not because I love it.
Right.
So, yeah. Do you have any thoughts on this one, Ben, on the lamestream media?
You said they lost their airport contract?
I believe. Don't call me on that. It was on Tim Pool who I think said that. I didn't into it.
Like a lot of like airports are like publicly owned for the most part, correct? So I mean,
yes.
they're like making money off the taxpayer. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean that's how corporatism works.
Like, I am not surprised. It is news, but I am not surprised. Yeah.
But yeah, I will. But yeah, and why does the lamestream media suck the most? Well, because they lie about everything, and the worst thing, in my opinion, that they lie about is pushing America to war. I'm not saying a war with Russia will happen. I don't think it'll actually escalate to that, but I think there'll probably be some problems.
All communists will die.
I mean, they'll probably do that in the breadline. Oh, I like Bernie said, the millionaires and the billionaires, the millionaires and the billionaires.
Yeah.
And I like Andrew Yang, actually. He's kind of funny. As a person, I don't think he has good economic policy. And Tulsi's all right. But Biden deploys 3,000 troops to NATO countries amid tensions with Russia over Ukraine.
Ben, what do you think about this whole escalation thing, dude? You remember back in the day where Hillary was talking about like the escalation and Ukraine and all and Crimea and all that. Yeah, tell us, bring us from that point to now. What do you think's going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, like clearly they're trying to like basically like fill the pockets of the military-industrial complex. Like apparently the current Secretary of Defense or Offense, as I like to call it. Well, it used to be on Raytheon's board or something like that.
Lloyd Austin.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's one element of it. Right now, the media, as you said, is like fueling a lot of misinformation regarding this.
Yes.
One specifically is the American agencies were reporting that Russia had, one of my friends told me this, had started placing blood along the borders in preparation for war, like just in case, like, you know how that works. Like someone gets shot in combat, they bring them to the tent, they fill them up with blood or whatever. I don't know, they do surgery, whatever.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like they're placing blood,
like
and
Red Cross type stuff. Okay.
yeah, they're placing stuff like that along the borders in preparation. But like the Ukraine, like intelligence agencies were like, or the Ukraine government was just like, that's not actually happening. Why are you telling people this? And the Ukraine government is like, America's in here. They're the ones who are
Joe Rogan
sounding the bell. Yeah.
Joe Rogan needs to invite the Ukrainian guy on or something.
Ooh, Zelensky.
Fuck it. Invite this Ukrainian guy on. I want to hear his broken ass English.
Oh my god. I actually would love. How about this? What would you think, Max, about Rogan and Putin? So, like, do you like elk meat, Mr. Putin?
They gotta fight. They gotta fight in the cage in the octagon.
Like when you're in the KGB,
they get 6 months to train. Putin gets to load up on fucking test.
Well, you can do that with Tomcat Ali. That's how I recommend.
But Ben was finishing a point. What was he saying? Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
I'm drunk now, Ben, so don't mind me, bro.
Okay. Well, all I was saying was America's basically fueling this whole build-up to the crisis.
Right.
I shouldn't say we, because there is no we. The United States government wants this to happen, and they're willing to lie about it, just like they did with Iraq. And that's where it's going to go. I have no faith that we won't eventually go into conflict. But I mean, I don't know if it will happen in the immediate future or like a year down the road, but it will probably happen.
I was saying it wasn't. Like just 3 days ago, we were talking about this, and I was like, they're just pumping the stocks, for their stocks, and they're pumping it up. And I know they wanted this war for years. It's obvious to me, in my estimation, just like there's like military contractors here. We don't think of Russia like we think of our country, right? Russia has military contracts too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they're getting pumped up too, man. On those markets, they're getting pumped up. And I think that's what's going on. Like on a world scale, this is rippling on many markets. It has a ripple. And anybody who owns, like Dan Crenshaw, owns a ton of military industrial complex stock. Like maybe now's the time to buy some, or it's too late, right? We should have bought it when he won the election. Right, that would have been the right move. Because Woodrow Wilson and Theodore Roosevelt won another election, so here we are talking about war.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a good time to buy this stock. So I think it's really just a pump for it. I don't think they're actually going to. Shots will be fired. I know Ukrainians will die if something does happen. And then, why? And here's why. The Americans, it's going to take one more generation. Because our generation, I'm 34, right? You guys, how old are you, Kareem?
33. I'm right behind.
Right. How old are you, Ben?
20.
Yeah, you're 20. So I don't know what you were taught, right? Because 14 years, the whole fucking scholastic academia could change. But in history, they did teach me. They did teach me in public school. They did teach me that, that every single time they got into a war, it's because Americans were helping, and then somebody got shot, somebody died, and we had to go to war, right? We had it was like World War I was like that. The U-boat sunk us, so we had to go in. In Vietnam, we were just giving medical aid, bro. Anyway, so that's what I think. I think it'll take at least maybe one more generation for guys like me to forget, or like the next have a couple voting generations, let's call it, to not know these facts of history where they could get off with that, because how do you kickstart it, dude? Like a missile goes off in Ukraine, and what? I mean, it's going to be an inside job. We all know, and that's the thing, dude. See, since the internet came about, we could all look this shit up. We could find out about false flags. We all know about this. We had Alex Jones scaring the shit out of me when I was 20. Ben, Alex Jones scared the fuck out of me with his documentaries, dude. I was watching this shit. I was like, dude, the world is fucked. And then I found Ron Paul, and I was like, okay, there's a savior. But you know, like there is a way. So yeah, I think the world is just too smart right now, and with the freedom convoys and all these things, and like now I don't think they want to tempt us, because they don't have the power to overthrow the working force, right? You need AI for that. You need enough AI where it's manageable, where the AI takes, the self-driving trucks and the robots waiting for it when it comes, to the stores. You need that before you could overthrow it. So World War III is waiting on the end of that, at the end of the beginning of AI. That's where World War III is.
Well, it's interesting to see, because a lot of warfare now is fought through cyber. It's fought through AI.
Right.
And there's very few wars going on. But I do want to touch on one thing, because I'm not going to lie. Out of everything that happened in 2020, I was like, at least I'm like, the economy's going to go bad. The energy is going to go bad. At least if he could keep this one promise, it'd be nice. He didn't. But, just because I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this, Ben, and then this would be the last one. And I get it. I'm Middle Eastern. There's a bias. I'm not going to say you can't have unbiased news. You can only have uncompromised news. So this comes from antiwar.com, Scott Horton's thing, where he talks about a lot of really good things here, like, stuff about Palestine, Russia, things like that. So what happens is the U.S. sent fighter jets and warship to UAE as the Yemen war is escalating. Last February, Biden spoke of the U.S. goal of getting out of the war in Yemen, which is the only thing I like that he said. In practice, the administration is going the opposite direction, which I'm not surprised, getting deeper involved in a cross-border strike threat to make the war regional. On Wednesday, the Pentagon announced they will send a guided missile destroyer, USS Cole, of the fighter jets to the United Arab Emirates to assist against the current threat, which makes no sense, because the Houthis, they have some technology, but they're not.
Bro, they ain't got shit.
Yeah.
They don't got shit, bro.
So Saudis and the UAE have increased airstrikes against northern Yemen, which is the biggest humanitarian crisis. I do agree with the UN on that. I'm not a UN fan.
Yeah.
The Houthis have launched more missile drones into those nations. With the U.S. wanting to project interest in those same nations, they're going to commit more forces to defend them, particularly the United Arab Emirates. The Houthi strikes against the UAE have economic concern, but very real blowback.
But wait. What kind of strikes are we talking about?
I'm guessing Iran or someone or Lebanon has given them like a missile. Here's the problem I have with
Yemen has missiles.
I'm saying the Houthis can acquire missiles, but they're not dangerous in the sense that it's kind of like fireworks to like.
Bro, I've been to third world countries. This is fourth world country. These motherfuckers don't got shit, bro. They're suffering. They don't got food. Forget about anything else.
Yeah.
They acquire a missile. Do they know what the fuck to do with a missile, dude?
I don't know. Like, what I'll tell you is this. And I'm
not trying to sound like dude, these people generationally do not have the means to eat. It's like really bad out there.
Yeah,
I don't care if they got fucking rockets like Palestinians, bro. They ain't got nothing, bro. This is all like, just bro. We gotta blow up some fucking missiles. What are we gonna do? All right, let's bomb Yemen. Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, which is the worst humanitarian crisis. I'll just summarize this. Either way, interest in getting out of the war is being undercut as tensions are serving to argue for deeper involvement an even more complicated war. This is why I want. If someone's like, why do you want Dave Smith to win? I think we can beat the mandates on our own, but this would probably be why I would push so hard. So, Ben, I'll let you have the last word. Sorry, I took.
Yep. And I got to get going here in a second, but yeah, it's funny. He promises us out of Yemen, but all we get is we get troops out of Afghanistan, which is good. But now we're talking about Ukraine and we're talking about Yemen more. So it's never a principled objection to war for these people. It's always I go to like this one place and I'm just going to promise some things and move on, and maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. Who cares? That's basically the attitude these people have, and it's just depressing. So
yeah, it is, and it's propagating the worst humanitarian crisis, which to me is something that needs to be addressed for all the people who say never again. So Ben, I really thank you for coming on. The last thing I'll cover real quick was a letter to Lloyd Austin, Department of Defense. I found this in the We Are Change Telegram. He basically I'll just summarize this for you real quick, took a diagnosis of some recent registered diagnosis in 2021 of medical conditions. I'm not saying why, but you can probably deduce hypertension's up, 2,000 some percent increase, nervous system's up, cancer's up, Guillain-Barré syndrome, which I didn't say that right, fertility's up, embolism, which is like when you have a blood clots up, migraines, ovarian dysfunction, cancer's up, and dichondria is up 100%. So I'm going to tell the audience, hey, you can probably deduce why that might be. And what I find this interesting is he said it might be related to a specific procedure that specific people had to take. So this is the letter to Lloyd Austin, to Department of the Defense. I just thought this was interesting.
All right. I'm going to take off. So
all right.
You want to kick me out of here.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. It was great seeing you and great talking to you, and I'll have you again on soon. Thank you.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for having me. See you, Max. See you, Cream.
See you, Ben. All right. You're muted. Let me unmute you.
Oh, what a nice, clean kid that kid is, bro.
Yeah. It gives me hope for the future generation because I see a lot of people.
20. He's got his head on, right? He's listening to this shit. He knows what the fuck he's talking about. That's nice, bro.
It is because I see some younger people like they're my pronouns are he, him, and hers, she. Or I'm like, oh my god, what's happening?
Like that's what we're working on, huh? We're working on pronouns.
I mean, there are some people who literally have them in millennials and Z, I guess. But here's the cool thing. I have a lot of hope for the generations coming up that we will end a lot of these problems or at least come up with better solutions. So, yeah, it's awesome to have people like Ben on, people like Dan on, people who are going to be jumping into the political arena and be fixing a lot of these problems or at least confronting them and trying to figure out like what the heck to do. So I'm really excited, and Ben's a great guy, and there's a lot of really good young people.
Dude, how poor, like on a 1 to whatever amount of countries there are in the world, how poor is Yemen? Bottom 20. I'm just gonna go ahead and just say bottom 20. And they're bombing these people, dude. Like you can't negotiate. Like you can't just be like, all right, instead of negative reinforcement, let's offer them food.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying, dude? Like, how do you just go and like, all right, remember when Trump sold all these weapons?
Yeah.
To the UAE, right? And to Saudi Arabia, and he sold all these weapons to them. How many weapons? He sold like something like billions. What was it?
Yeah. I don't remember. It was like 100-some billion. Yeah, it was really bad.
And here they are, just like literally like, okay, we got to use them. That way we can get more because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what you read, right? They got more.
Yeah, they keep getting more and more stuff. And here's the craziest thing.
Because if you don't use it, they won't give you more. So you gotta get more. You know.
Yeah, but here's the craziest thing. Here's the thing. Even if you're even if you're a Dan Crenshaw guy, I love Raytheon. I have Boeing stickers everywhere.
Lockheed Martin shit, right?
Yeah, I got Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman tattooed, like people tattoo Pfizer. I don't know why the heck people do. Even if you have that, I think you have to acknowledge on a basic level of reality that, well, who was behind 9/11? I'm not saying
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. Like,
they're
come on.
selling weapons to the country that freaking had the 9/11 hijackers, bro. It is nuts, dude. It is like, bro, this is exactly how missiles fucking go off.
Yeah.
In first world countries, bro. Because, or you know what I'm saying, bro?
Doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
It
even
makes
if
no
you
sense. Like
it.
you guys had, we're gonna give you weapons, like.
Yeah.
And you use some, we're gonna give you more. Don't you worry, we got you, dude. They had all those how many were out of the, what was it, 12 out of the 14? It was like the majority, the vast majority.
Yes. I mean, I get it. They love selling to Saudi Arabia, and even Dan Crenshaw said, like, to Peterson that, well, it's just the way it is. We have to be with Saudi Arabia rather than Iran. And I'm not saying Iran's perfect. They do a lot of things I don't like. I don't want to live in Iran.
Like, I'll give this. I'll say this. I'll say that there is an amount of respect I'm going to give any veteran.
Oh yeah,
who actually had his own two shoes on the ground.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Like, and what I mean by that, it's not, oh well, you serve, so I'm giving, like you wear the uniform. That's why. No, what I'm saying is you were there. You understand it from a different mentality than I do. I wasn't there. You were there. So I respect that his opinion on these things are different than maybe mine, and I should keep an ear open. That's why when we talk about Jacko, I listen to Jacko.
I like Jacko.
Right, and I'll listen to that.
I will.
But we know he is freaking bought out by these freaking military industrial complex companies, dude. He's a corporatist.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I take it like my doctor. It's the same thing like like doctors. Like, you went to medical school, it's hard. In Austrian economics, that's a high level of signaling. I went to Harvard Medical School. I'm not taking that away from you, just like I never take anyone's service away. But you have to also acknowledge this. Oh, well, he's a doctor. Okay. Is there an insurance company? Is there some big pharma guy that's like, hey, no ivermectin, give them this. And I hate to say it with like Lloyd Austin, with Jocko, with maybe, I don't know about Jocko, but with Dan, is there a lobbyist? Lobbyists have teams, actually. I didn't realize how sophisticated it is. Like, these guys, they get in there and they're like, man, here, we're going to do this, this, and this for you. Justin Amash, bro.
There's more lobbyists in Washington, D.C. than there is politicians.
Yeah. So you can have 1,000 lobbyists to one congressman. And the nice thing they do is they say, we'll get your election campaign going. We'll do this. We'll give you sponsorship. We'll hook you up. We'll give you millions of dollars. Basically, they'll do everything for you. But if you don't, you don't get reelected. We won't help you. You're off committees.
Next guy, exactly. And so they get like, if you can't fund your own election, you're bought out at that point. They'll corner you. They'll push you in a corner. They'll push you in a corner, and they'll corner you down, and that's it. Like, you'll feel locked in and trapped, and you're like, fuck. Well, if I just sign on the vaccine registry, then I could vote no towards this, right? So he'll still get to do what he really wants to do, but he's cornered down, right? And the best thing to do is just quit, bro. Just fucking quit. That's what Dan Crenshaw, the best thing, like Tulsi Gabbard, she was cornered down. So she said, I will not take money from the DNC. And within just a couple of years, she won again. She realized it's really hard to fund your own campaign. and she quit. Just same with Justin. He quit. He had to quit because he was relying on the fucking LP for money for crying out.
And Ron Paul quit too. I heard Ron Paul when he left, he called Congress a bunch of psychopath authoritarians.
Well, he was able to fund his own campaigns for a long, not like these couple people I mentioned. But what I'm trying to say is they fund their own campaigns. They realize how hard it is. Right now, they get not to vote how these lobbyists want them to vote. They have to vote how they want to vote, but they have to fund their own campaign. They realize it's too expensive, so Tulsi and Amash are out. That's what then Crenshaw should do. He should just, you know what? I built something good. I tarnished it a little bit here. Let me stop. Let me go back to my roots of why I really ran. And just quit and save up money and run for a different position like I'll save up to become a governor of Texas, and I'll run it the way I want to run it. I won't let lobbyists. And this is if the lobbyists are the ones telling them what to do, which they are. I think they are. They're always telling you what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not only telling you what to do; they're giving you money. There's incentives. Like I always look. I get in a lot of arguments with constitutionalists, not because I'm anti-constitution, but they say, Kareem, why won't they just, it would be good if they just follow the Constitution. I say, well, a lot of them, I don't think Biden or Trump read it. They must have missed number 2 on the Second Amendment. But let's say they did. Do they have an incentive to do it? It doesn't matter if it's revered by Thomas Jefferson and all the founding fathers, if no one has an incentive to want to follow the Constitution. And I understand the incentive of lobbyists. If someone said, $100 million to do this, $10 million, you're set, your family's set, your dog is set, your dog's dog, your friend's friend, your neighbor is set, and they're going to get you reelected, and they're going to campaign for you. Like,
if not, they're gonna show the video of you taking it in the butt.
Yeah,
from at the Bohemian Grove.
Oh my God! Where Alex Jones sneaks in. I'm here to see where's Moloch.
We got the facts here. We got the facts. We got the facts right here. ladies, folks, we got the facts.
All right, so I'll do one more story because you brought it up. I think it's kind of funny. Anyway,
you thinking of Blair White?
Maybe.
You gay fucker.
I'll be like, hey, I know you have like 1 million subs, but hey,
I'm gonna message her and say that you want her.
All right. We'll
go.
Go.
It's my girl, bro. Whoopee.
It's good. You know what? I like her acting. I will say this. I think she's a pretty good actor.
She was one of the best actors of the 90s. I grew up watching her movies.
Like the one where she dancing with the nuns.
Dude, I grew up watching her movies.
Yeah.
And then she went left.
Yeah, which is weird to me because I never saw her being super political, but I guess being on The View.
I mean, even if she was political, I didn't see her being so
social justice-y.
Yeah, I didn't see her. I saw her being like a voice of justice, and even if she was on the left, it wouldn't be like even when they're wrong, but even when they're wrong, she's on the left, and everyone's wrong sometimes, and she defends them. It's like, oh my gosh. But that's what happens when you want to be on The View, right? So what is this?
Her and Joy Behar. Joy is always. Biden could, the thing with Ukraine could pop off, and Joy will be like, well, we got to do it because you got to blah, blah, blah. Oh, well.
Well, we got to do it. We got to do it.
Well, he passed 35 trillion and peaches cost $5,000. Like, well, you had to pass. Come on. You know what?
Just how else are these people supposed to get the money?
Yeah. Hey, it's my team. When my team does something, I tell my team, you're all good. So, what did she say in a statement? Happening. They said things were wrong and hurtful. Whoopi said she apologized and she had time.
She had to apologize.
The entire ABC organization stands in solidarity with our Jewish colleagues, friends, family, and community.
Oh my God.
Goodwin told staff an internal email that was obtained by CNN.
Here's what's funny. We just read a story
Yeah.
of Yemen, one of the poorest countries in the world, getting massacred.
Yes.
Right? Completely ignored in the media.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nobody wants to cover it except
He's talking about something that happened a long time ago. Now I get it. It's hurt. It may hurt some people. What she said. Your feelings don't really matter. What I'm saying is like today there's shit going on, just like that.
Yeah.
And everybody's mad at Whoopi, bro. She knocks on white people every fucking day for years, son. She's talking shit about white people for years. She's like, one thing about the JOOS.
Yeah. Well,
and all of a sudden,
suspect. Yeah. So what did she say? I'll get down. I said the Holocaust wasn't about race, and instead it was man's inhumanity to man. Which, if we're just breaking it down honestly, I say it was definitely about. There was definitely racial motivations. I'm not going to argue that. What I will argue is this.
You want me to argue it? I'll argue that shit.
I'll say man's inhumanity.
I'll argue that shit.
But, you know, Adolf went after gypsies. He went after people who had different orientations. He went after
the gays. He went after the cripples. He went after anyone who was different.
Yeah.
Wanted to, you know, we forget that during that time, eugenics was a craze.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was a lefty thing. It was a craze to be about eugenics. So he was trying to clean up the bloodline, sick motherfucker, right? So that's what he was doing.
Yeah. And yeah, he killed people, cognitive, like he killed everybody who got. Actually, in my opinion, it was more about authoritarianism. If you were viewed as a threat to the Weimar Republic, you were gone. And Stalin did the same thing. It seems to me that authoritarians fundamentally come down to, if you're a threat to my framework or my structure, you got to go. It can be that simple.
Well, yeah, like he may have just said that, you know, some of those people were Jewish who maybe weren't. Like maybe. he might have just been like, you're Jewish, you know, like, and it's like maybe you were like not Jewish and just sent you to the camp, you know. Yeah. But to her point, there is a lot of underlying history between World War I and World War II, where before anything happened, where the German JOOS helped defeat Germany in World War I by doing counter-op operations, counter-ops in their own country, right? So they were like basically in their country of Germany working against them. And when he exposed that with his racist antics, to give it an effect where the mob could understand it, because you know what we're talking about is something like critical thinking and evidence and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You're not going to reach everyone with that. You're only going to reach a minority of people. But when you could involve race, which is where she's wrong, like you're saying,
yeah.
When you could involve race, you could reach everyone, because everybody could just look and be like, oh, yeah, they're Semitic and they must be, you know, evil, right?
Find someone to blame. I think the worst thing that was done is Hitler convinced people that they were German National Socialists. And I think you and me might differ on this. I've come to the realization that, to me, at least to me, I would consider myself a patriot. But to me, a nationalist, someone who wants national power, is just a low ambition globalist.
Right.
Like Trump is just one step down from Klaus Schwab. So is Biden. And people are like, oh, I'm so shocked that my nationalist president wants global power. Are you really?
Well, tell me, what do you think the difference is between patriotism and nationalism?
I think patriotism is like a love for your country. When the founding fathers said they had a love for the country, it was their countrymen. I think nationalism is wanting to ascertain national power to do economic and social change. I don't believe
that's okay. So
I don't believe in the executive branch.
you're in the Libertarian Party. Why?
Because I want to decentralize everything as much as
Because
possible.
you love your country, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're trying to gain enough control to decentralize the control.
Well, yes, but I'll even say this: I'm also in the Libertarian Party because someday, if I'm talking, I talked to Anomaly, and I'll close up with this. I talked to a pretty famous rapper named Anomaly today. I just hopped on his Instagram, talked to him, and he's friends with Zuby, who's a pretty famous guy. He has the hat, the purple thing. He's always looking.
Yeah, he's mad cool, bro. Very libertarian.
So yeah, both of them are libertarian. So if I go with Peter T. Leeson's research, I would feel comfortable with saying, hey, Yeonmi Park, hey, Marta Bueno. I definitely think that people should run armaments to or should do something about Cuba and North Korea.
Let's talk about Martha Bueno for a second.
But here's a question. Yeah, hey.
She is a beautiful woman. Now,
but she has good policy, and that's what we're all about.
She has great policy. Like, even more important, she has great policy.
Yeah.
She comes back from the country of Georgia. The convention name in Florida, which is happening in Melbourne, be there, was named after her. She comes back, and from getting harassed from no name accounts. Like, I listen. I was like, oh, you're being harassed? Who? Show me. I will have words with them. I looked them up. They're nobody. They can't be identified.
Nobody.
She's getting harassed. Yeah, it's very odd, right?
It is odd.
Who knows who these accounts belong to? She's getting harassed by these things for how beautiful, like, because she's a beautiful woman. They're harassing them, being like, I guess you would call it misogynist or sexist. I don't even want to use those terms, but let's use them for the lack of better ones. So she's offended, and she's like, oh, well, these people identify with Mises. Why doesn't, like, the leaders of Mises come out and, like, say, hey, we don't believe in that? Or, like, the LP, like Karen Harlos and, Dave Smith, why those people, right? Hey, why don't they come out and say that? Well, first off, we're not against, we're not here to manage people, right? In political correctness. Like, we do believe in freedom of speech, no matter how bad it is. I do, at least. And the second thing is that who are these people? We don't even know they existed. Like, who are they? Are they even paying dues members? Because we would like more of those. If they were paying dues members, you can say whatever the fuck you want. But even so, we don't know who they are. We look them up. We still don't know who these people are. And she comes back from Georgia and she says, hey, I'm being harassed. I don't want to be the name of the convention. I'm not going to identify with you guys. And we're like, okay. Runner up was FL Exit or Die, Flex or Die. And that was Mises, And so now that's the convention name. But I messaged her and I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, she wants her money back from because in order to get the name of the convention, you had to donate. And whoever had the most donation. So she donated for her own name. And now she wants her money back. And I was like, bro, you just donate. It's not like you were like, hey, I'm going to donate money unless I don't want to donate money anymore. Like, you gave the money away clearly. Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, don't take the money away because, let's grow the Libertarian Party of Florida and let's work together. I understand there's some issues, but, clear skies will prevail. And she was like very upset, as any Latin woman from the Caribbean would be. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm sorry to hear that. And she was like, I'm sorry too. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave her alone. Let a week or so pass by until she's like less heated. So that's what happened with her. And now I found out from a lot of Mises people that she really wanted Mises and she really wanted the LPF to support Cuba's freedom, and they didn't. They did, but not to the level she wanted.
Did they do what they did with the lockdowns? Like Jorgensen's, like they're bad.
Right.
Like I'm like, come on, do a little bit more.
You have to understand that Florida's about Florida. That's number one, right?
Yeah.
But this is our neighbor in Cuba, and it's a communist country. I am highly opposed to it. Highly opposed. I agree with her 100%. So
I agree with her as well.
Right.
But I guess
that's what was going on.
I don't know if we'd agree here. That the one thing, like if I talk to Yemen Park, if I talk to Marta Bueno, also the big part of Mises is, yes, I love my country. But after going from Ron Paul to Adam Kokesh to looking at Rothbard and finally at Peter T. Leeson, and then looking back at how the media lied, big shocker, in 1991 after Mohammed Sayed Bari was gone in Somalia, and seeing that Somalia did improve on almost every visible metric, I would be cool with telling Yemen Park, Marta Bueno, yeah, we'll give you all the help, and I'll be as vocal as you want to get rid of the Castros and to get rid of the Jong-il family. But don't replace them.
Individually, we were.
Okay, but fair enough. But what I would say is the best thing for Cubans and North Koreans would be if those guys were gone and replaced with nothing. Do not replace it with any, by all costs. Do not replace it with anything.
Like deciding what's going to happen after the fact. What we're talking about is just the messaging she's upset about.
And I can understand that. Yeah.
And we both understand that. So we agree there. But
someone has to say, look, the one thing I didn't see.
So here's the thing.
Get rid of these.
You got to remember the type of fucking party we belong to.
Yeah.
How we're being chastised, how people are being kicked out, how people for like literally we have agents kicking out members.
Yes.
For being too pro liberty. Literally. They're like, listen, you guys are doing shit. The party's fucked. We've been voting for you for years. Like myself, I've been voting libertarian for over 12 years. Right?
Yeah.
So here I am. I am a member now. It is time to get shit going. I am not waiting for. I understand. Like, bro, if you are going to work as hard as me, I will listen to you. If you're not working as hard as me, get out of my way.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. Yeah. This is every member's party, and they're kicking us out, and that's what's going on.
Well,
so if we message this, and not everyone in Florida agrees to message like that, and there is these channels where these messages have to go through, unfortunately. And Mises was all for it. And we could have won that vote, but we decided not to alienate the rest of the party and divide our party on this issue, which is not even our state.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem I have with the cathedral, with the other libertarians. I'm like, okay, fine. You have a beef with somebody. Whatever. I don't care who you like or don't like or what someone said.
Why don't they like us?
Go message someone if
they don't like us. It's not that they don't like us.
We're smashing.
They don't like us and the actions we do. It's not that. They don't like what we believe in.
Well, here's the thing I asked them. Okay, you guys are libertarians. Yeah, we're libertarians. Okay, I don't like what so-and-so said. Oh, okay, fine. But what about inflation? Do you eat food? I'm guaranteeing you food. What about mandates? What about this? What about the $600?
Well, it's an easy answer because ultimately the cathedral anarcho-communist or rather postmodernist philosophy does not believe in massive centralized power. So there is that, right? They do believe in small centralized power, which they won't admit that it's centralized, right? Like, okay, whatever you want to admit. Yeah, they believe in small communities, and I get that part because that's smart. It is a smart idea what they're talking about. What they really don't agree on, in essence, is how to get there. How they want to get there is through I mean, they're promoting and accepting of massive scale censorship. Oh, well, they're private markets and big tech. It's like, bro,
They're not private.
any company that's subsidized has ended its privatization. You have done, like, Elon Musk is not private.
No.
Jeff
Can I
Bezos
go
is
even
not
more
private.
extreme?
You
If you
don't you do not grow to be the richest man in the world by private. It's always going. So that's what they're really against, laissez-faire economics. They say they're for it. They say they're for free markets. They call it, I am for free markets that I could control. That's what they feel about, and so it's on a small scale and all that, but in order to get there, they want censorship. They're promoting the censorship. They're laughing about Joe Rogan. They're literally against the philosophies or traditional. They're against traditional classical liberalism is what they're most against. They're against classical liberalism, which is, you can't be a Christian. How dare you? And if you're a Christian, then you gotta be our type of Christian. You gotta be accepting of gays. Well, what if I don't want a fucking gay son, bro? Like, what the fuck? What if I'm just gonna try to like, what if my son what if my daughter believes she's a boy tomorrow? I'm not allowed to tell her she's not a boy. Is that what we're? And do they believe? They believe also. They highly argue for this in a child's rights to choose. That a child has a right to choose what gender they are.
No.
Right. And so it's like, bro, the kid doesn't know their left foot from their right foot. What the fuck are you talking about? They're going to choose if they're a boy or girl.
And what I find
no concept
is
they have no concept of what they're even talking about, and you're telling them, you're trying to present them choice.
It doesn't make sense. I know you're going to make fun of me again now because,
you want to smash Blair White. That's fine.
Well, when Blair White was talking about the, from an just a purely educational perspective.
So gross.
Dude, I like that dare education.
You're going to love that stubbly chin and shit.
Bro, look, listen.
Go make her. She got stubble on her chin. You're going to be licking the sandpaper off of it.
Dude, I don't know about that picture.
As long as the boobies are there, right? You're right.
I didn't see no stubble in that picture you posted, my man. I don't know. Maybe
I really picked the best picture. I made pick the best.
You found a good picture, and I wasn't thinking about philosophy, but here's the thing: I watched her videos, and she said even her issue, which she said it was a condition, gender dysphoria. Basically, the concept is that you do have this problem. Some people do need this treatment, but you should be an adult and you should go to an endocrinologist and talk it over. And
yeah, because I mean, most of these kids that are suffering this, they hit puberty.
Yeah,
this is what's happening. They're hitting puberty, and let's say they're boys. They hit puberty and they have a very small amount of testosterone, not a normal amount, not a high amount. Like, the athletes, the kids that are athletes,
there's EDCs. I'm not blaming them because there's EDCs, there's phthalates, there's
right. But what I'm saying is they got so little because of all these disruptors that what happens is they're like, fuck, am I real? Like, literally in their head, like, they know they're not at full potential. So now they're like, wait, maybe I'm a girl. Right. And then the whole world is building this whole platform for them to go to. It's like, yeah, bro, that's really the platform you want to go to, bro. Like what they need is fucking more testosterone. Like, if there's anything we should be giving them, is proviron, testosterone cypionate. We should literally, not estrogen. We shouldn't be like, or blockers. Why would you ever give them blockers? You know how that, the amount of brain development you get from your hormones.
That's what Blair said. Never, ever, ever, ever give them blockers. And I would actually suggest, if you're actually 20 or something, 18, look, You don't have to take anything. You just need to make sure you're sleeping.
Yeah,
right,
clean up the
lift
diet,
weights,
clean up. Yeah, stop
weights.
playing fucking video games all fucking night long, you fucking losers. Go to fucking sleep, wake up, and freaking do good in school, you little piss fucks. That's what they need to do, bro.
Okay, yeah. And lift weights. Yeah,
And exactly, get into
that's the
a
issue.
sport. You don't like playing in team sports because you don't like the team. Go do fucking karate 1-on-1 and kick somebody's ass and learn how to get punched in the fucking face and enjoy it. That's what they need to be fucking doing.
Just lift
I don't
weights.
care if they're girls or boys. They all need to be active, bro.
Or just lift weights, take a multivitamin like you suggested. Boron can help. And then there's things like there's herbs too. I'm more on the like herbal side. Like, what does this magical herb do? Like, oh, okay, it doesn't work. Okay, this one works.
Yeah, and everyone's different. Some things will be more responsive to some people over others, and you gotta try those things. I did mention hormone therapy right away, obviously, but I mean that's to the last resort. Dude, don't take the estrogen.
Yeah.
Take the testosterone.
Well, in my opinion,
Ladies, don't take the testosterone. Take the estrogen. Try that first. Because you could always go back and do the opposite. If nothing changes, nothing gets better, you tried it for a whole fucking year, nothing got better, you could always do the opposite. But what you should really do is try to be the sex you are. Okay? Try that first because it's going to be easier to transition into a man if you were born a man than it is to, and vice versa, than it would be to transition from a man to a woman and vice versa.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I would definitely say before you do anything or take it, become an adult, learn a little bit about who you are, take some time to figure out what you're about.
And don't listen to these doctors that want to mutilate you.
Yeah.
And fucking just pump you up full of all these drugs to like, look, me and Kareem, you and I, we don't have any fucking dog in the race here. We don't got dog in the race of whether how many freaking boys become girls. Better for me, better for my children. You're gonna be less of a threat in essence, like for my son to go get a wife, and vice versa for my daughter to go get a good looking husband. Like better for us, but that's what I'm saying. Like, don't listen to these doctors that are trying to like prescribe you shit. Don't bring your kids to these freaking doctors, all right? Be fucking parents. Turn the TV off. Put your kids to fucking sleep and raise them. Okay, stop trying to freaking give these kids pills to figure things out. That's not figuring things out. Tell them to go to your room. Like, sit down with your kid and have a fucking talk and get to the bottom of things. Until you're at the bottom, that talk's not over. It's time to raise our kids. It's time to freaking take responsibility. This is weak parents and men. Most of these, you know what? Most of these freaking kids who are gender dysphoric, it's because of the man not being there. Men, two things. Stop impregnating dumb fucking crazy bitches that you can't deal with. Number two, if you did, deal with that motherfucker. Okay? Stop being a bitch, bouncing on your fucking kids, because you're a piece of fucking shit when you do it, and you're no better than her crazy dumbass. All right? You just fucking moved on. Oh, now I'm happy. It ain't about your happiness. It's about the kid's happiness. And then your kid becomes lost in this freaking world and like suicidal, because everybody knows that trans people suffer from the high suicide rates. It's insane. So like this is what we could do as men. It's not all our fault, but we got broad shoulders and we need to carry that weight, bro.
Yeah, I think the biggest, and I've actually told people, I think the biggest health crisis people are asking me, like, what, okay, fine. Is there? I'm like, yeah, there's a health crisis. T levels are down. All this stuff is down. Dudes are not dudes anymore. I don't see, especially walking around major cities, I don't see dudes. You don't have to do this, but I just don't see anybody as excited anymore.
You know what's interesting?
What?
Somebody could truly disrespect. I see this. One man disrespects a man. Like, really disrespects him, really like shames him in front of so many people,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing happens. And it's okay. Well, he's a bitch, quote unquote, right? But it's not that. There's more bitches now. Everyone's becoming a bitch. Everybody, well, you're not allowed to punch something because I'll go to jail. Like, motherfucker, you talk shit. My boss said something to me the other day. All right.
Wear a mask.
I asked him straight. This is what I told him. He criticized me. I let it go. He criticized me a second time. I asked him, let me ask you something. Are you paid to criticize me, or are you paid to manage this place? And then, as a smart ass, he didn't know what to say. He was like, well, I'm paid to criticize you. I was like, yeah, well, I don't like it. And I walked to my desk, and I slammed the frickin', like, I pull my keys out of my desk, I slammed the drawer, and I walk out, and I drive home. I was supposed to work 4 more hours. I just went home. I show up the next day. In my mind, I was like, bro, I'm going to tell him 2 things. I'll be like, dude, we got 2 options. I could take you outside, or I could go to HR. What do you want to do? Because I am not a bitch. I don't want to go to HR. So what do you want to do? That's what I was going to say. But I come in, and he's very peaceful with me. And he's nice to me and all that. And see, like, that's dealing with things, like, in a way that you're not, like, it's not politically correct. You follow? Yeah. But, like, I'm not, forget this political correct shit. It's not about being politically correct. It's about being human.
Yeah, I was never politically, like, when I was, and I'll close it off with this. When I was, studying for my computer science degree, I had to take calculus and stuff like that. And I told my dad, like, I'm tired of this. I am not this anymore. This is BS. He's like, that's okay, Greg. You don't have to do it. You just retake the course next semester. I'm like, fine. I'm going to study it. Like,
you manned up. I'm
like, I got to do it. Like, and it's just like the whole thing. Like, I watch Liver King almost every day. It's like, yeah, I was scared to do this workout, but do it anyway. And that's a problem I have. Like, dudes you don't have to be like super bulky, but like Atticus Finch of To Kill a Mockingbird, which is now banned, people don't stand up for anything anymore. That's the biggest problem I have. Like, Atticus is not like a bodybuilder. He's not hitting whey protein, but he does make the point that, look, this is what's happening here is wrong. And if enough people can do that, you can fix society. Just like
what you mentioned here is interesting. You mentioned you were afraid to do the calculus, and then the Liver King is like, I'm afraid to do the workout. And then I'm mentioning like standing up to my boss, which was very uncomfortable. Like me not wanting to say it was there. Like there was a feeling in me I didn't want to talk about it, right?
Yes.
So like overcoming that sentiment of weakness. It's it's trying to make you weak. It's trying to break you. It's like, let me be passive. Let me, you know what I mean? Let me be passive. And sometimes in life, being passive is the right move, and sometimes it's not. And for men, especially for men, or not for men, but if you want to take control of a situation, you can't be passive. That's not who takes control. The person who gets the job, the person who gets the manager job, the person, he's always or she's always the one who takes control of the situation when it's uncomfortable. You have to do that. You have to go straight through the uncomfortable situation. It's like seeing a ghost in the room. It's a dark room. Alan Watts, I'm quoting Alan Watts. If you ever see a ghost, you walk straight through. And what you're going to do is you're going to find out that that ghost was never there. That the outcome, the worst possible outcome you thought was going to happen was actually not the outcome that happens. And if, it takes courage, man, and it's a dying breed, and maybe it has to do with hormones and stuff like that, but it's always a choice. We could always do it.
Yeah. If we get enough strong guys, like, and I'm not saying necessarily you have to be super, super buff, but people, even like, someone like Scott Horton, if he keeps getting the word out, maybe he can make a dramatic change, and the least that will stop a genocide. That's pretty big. Dave Smith, can make a dramatic change, saving the
These
world.
guys, yeah, man, these guys are going against I mean, anyone in the Libertarian Party, I give them props because they went against the grain of the two-party system. It takes a lot of courage. But a lot of the old heads, they sit there and they're kind of afraid to take a position sometimes because they know there'll be backlash. And it doesn't matter if there's backlash. What you have to do is face it, because that's what makes the sword. A sword gets hammered from a piece of steel. It goes through a hammer, it goes through the fire, it goes through the water. You got to go through a process to get stronger. If not, you're never going to become anyone.
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to thank Max and definitely Benjamin Sievers.
Hey,
Awesome
Benjamin.
show.
Peace.
Now, Benjamin, we're going to rock.
That was a cool kid, man. That kid, bro.
Ben is the man. Ben is the man.
I'm gonna go at that guy. Mises, bro. Me cops.
Last but not least, if you enjoyed this conversation, if you're tired of big government and centralization, and you think decentralized human action is better at regulating externalities, or simply put, when people get together, they can figure stuff out better than central planners, come to lpmisescaucus.com. You can also check out our resources. I'm your host, Kareem, with the Essential Libertarians, with my co-host, Max Henry. Take it easy and